Shookers! Hello, everybody. My name is James.
My name is Neil.
And we have the wonderful Emma Wright with us.
Hello.
Hello, Emma. Welcome. Welcome. You're an actor. You're a producer. Anything else? Any other names or professions? Titles? Thank you.
There's only one profession.
Yeah, producer, theatre maker. I think
theatre maker.
That sums it up.
Wonderful. And today we're here to talk about an awesome new initiative that you may have, if you're listening to us right now, you may have experienced from England, possibly America. I don't even know if America does this.
They do.
They do. But it's a brand new initiative for Australia. Please, Emma, please tell us what this wonderful initiative is.
So I'm here to chat about Australian Theatre Live, which is the Australian equivalent of National Theatre Live, which a lot of us, especially in the arts, are pretty familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But now we're doing it here, making it happen here with local content.
Amazing.
And when this conception, when did it come out? When did it come about? Like when did you guys start talking about it?
Yeah, so ATL was founded by Grant Dodwell, Peter Hiscock and Raj Sidhu. And the company's actually been around since for about, I think it's about 7 years, from about 2012. 2013 was ATL's very first capture, Liberty, Equality, Fraternity at the Ensemble. But things have really picked up over the last couple of years. So we just launched our new subscription platform, and I think for a lot of people that's been the first time they've heard of ATL. And so it's kind of been a big rebranding and really hidden the market.
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously with this kind of thing, you'd have to develop some sort of catalog before you kind of people jump on board. So yeah, it's wonderful that now you've got a catalog and that you can get people on board with it. And what's your role in ATL?
So I'm one of two associate producers. So myself and Lucy Clements are associate producers with the company. We also have the wonderful Sean Landis, who manages our publicity, and we have Michelle Gold, who is our finance manager.
Oh, lovely. Yep. And you guys all in Sydney?
Mostly. So I think all of us bar Raj. So Raj works from Melbourne, but the rest of us are Sydney-based, and we have a little office in Rozelle where we hang out.
Oh, great. Nice. And tell us about the kind of shows that are currently in the catalogue of ATL.
Sure. So the catalogue currently consists of 18 films, and that's growing pretty steadily. So we've got another film dropping this month. And then there are a whole lot of films to roll out next year. But the catalogue is quite vast and diverse in terms of the content that's on there. There's indie theatre, so we've got the likes of This Much Is True, which was at the Old Fitz in 2017. And then we've got, opera, we've got Platée and Apollo and Daphne by Pinch Gut Opera. We've got some sort of circus and music, like some Sydney Festival productions. And there's also sort of your main stage, sort of larger scale productions like Away by Michael Gow, which was an STC and Malthouse co-pro. And then stuff like Wharf Review, if you're into some political satire.
Yeah, great.
So yeah, it really, there's something for everybody, I think, in the catalogue. If you want to see something that's captured in a nice, intimate, small space, we've got quite a lot of Griffin Theatre productions, so you're really up close. And yeah, it sort of covers all different genres. We're hoping to add some musicals to the catalogue next year. That's a space which I think would be exciting to add to, an Australian musical. That would be really cool. And that's in the works. There's Shakespeare. We kind of got it all. Like,
great.
It's a really, really exciting catalogue.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've got a lot of different companies on board.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, I think Griffin is probably the company we've collaborated with most, but we also have a really fantastic partnership with Pinch Gut and Queensland Theatre as well. We've gone up to Queensland and filmed a couple of their productions, which has been really fab. Hoping to be back there again next year. But yeah, I think it's really a game of relationship building and trying to build relationships with all the companies, trust with the companies, and really for them to get amongst and around what we're doing, which is ultimately servicing their productions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're there to capture the art that they've made and to make it accessible to a whole lot more people.
And just for all the people out there who are also don't quite understand a lot of things, so you'll be going around different shows and filming them, and then you'll be putting onto the website, and people can get subscriptions to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we go in. We're contracted to shoot a show. So we go in. We capture it live. So with an audience. And we shoot it all through with multiple cameras. Usually there's about sort of 6 operated cameras plus your GoPros and a few fixed cameras as well. So we're getting it from a whole load of different angles, different lenses, shot sizes. And like our crews are amazing. We've got like feature film cameramen and women on the productions who just are so talented and so able to translate what's happening on stage into a film medium. But yeah, it's captured on the day. We do a few pickups after the show without an audience if there's anything that was missed or anything we want to, have a second go at. And then it enters a pretty comprehensive post-production period. So it's all professionally graded, sound mixed, edited, and then it goes generally to cinema before it then hits our catalogue. On-demand platform, which is brand new and very exciting, and it's designed to be nice and affordable and sort of be the equivalent of a Netflix or a Stan or a Binge, but for your Australian theatre experiences.
Yeah, nice. And when are we opening that? When is it starting up?
For the platform?
Yeah.
So the platform actually launched a couple of weeks back now. So it's now live. And we have been really surprised and encouraged by the fact that subscribers are jumping on, and it seems to be having a really wonderful response, which is great because it's been a long time in the works. Like well over a year. Sean especially has worked super hard to get it live because I mean it is the first of its kind in Australia. So it's been a long time coming, but we're super thrilled with the result.
Yeah. Do you feel like just recently with the pandemic or whatnot, do you think that's sort of like giving the proof like this will work?
Totally. And I think the last few years, as we sort of chatted about, have been like the company has grown exponentially. Like our catalogue has grown exponentially. Those first few years we were maybe capturing like 1 film a year. The next year maybe it would be 2. The next year after that back to 1, then 3 maybe. But like these last few years it's been like, huge amounts of captures in a year. This year I think we've captured upwards of 6, 7.
Wow.
Like in January alone for Sydney Festival, we captured 4 shows. Like it's been wild. And yeah, a lot of that has come about because of the pandemic and the fact that I think suddenly our business model was very attractive because it meant that we could go in and shoot shows that otherwise maybe wouldn't get an audience because of COVID. So audiences were missing out on content. And also it was like a great contingency for companies as well. Like suddenly if they have to shut down, at least they've got this recorded copy that can, audiences can engage with. And yeah, I think it just mitigates so many, obstacles that audiences run into when accessing theatre. And yeah, you don't have to worry about, if you're immunocompromised or if you don't feel safe in a theatre space, all of a sudden it's like, wow, digital theatre, this sort of solves those problems for us. So yeah, I think the pandemic has been huge in very much a what's the phrase? A double-sworded way?
A double-edged sword.
Yeah. Like it's been wonderful in that I think it's created
confidence in you guys.
Yeah. But obviously also it's had such a hugely negative effect on the arts as well. But we're grateful that at least digital theatre seems to be coming through as a really wonderful opportunity for us, but more so for the companies that we're collaborating with as well.
I actually looked through the website and everything, and I was thinking about how, when I was going to theatre school and everything, and I wanted to watch a lot of different shows. I wish we had that then, a lot of students out there who want to watch, and especially people who don't entirely into the theatre circles per se. they have like it's on screen and you can watch it still.
Totally. I think it's just a lot more accessible in a lot of ways. Like I know friends who aren't theatre goers. It's actually quite an intimidating thing to go and sit in an audience and for, however many minutes, 100 minutes, and watch something live happening in front of you. When you take it into your lounge room at home, I think it brings a level of comfort, and it's a way of engaging with content that we're so much more familiar with, and everyone's more familiar with, regardless of your demographic. You feel more comfortable sitting in front of a screen where you can maybe pause it and go get a drink. You can go to the bathroom. You can check your phone. Like all of these things.
You could do research.
Totally.
No, but I'm serious. Like on Shakespeare, like you're like, what does that word mean? Or who's that character? Or what's going on?
And that is how today we engage with entertainment. And I think bringing theatre to that way of interacting with art means that we're just making it more accessible for more people.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely wonderful. What I think in particular is rural areas, schools, especially in those areas that don't have access to big theatre companies, or the theatre companies can't tour to them, and being able to see shows fresh off Australian stages. I think that's invaluable.
It's huge, and certainly a large amount of our focus is on accessing regional and rural communities. We recently did this huge roadshow which was essentially a tour of our Sydney Festival captures, and that went to small towns like all across Australia. And that was really wonderful. And, we had screenings happen in community halls, in very non-traditional spaces, which, sometimes would attract 200 plus school children who would come and see something. And that could be their first experience of theatre.
Yeah.
And there's no way that those productions would be able to afford touring to all of those places. But, and I think there's also a really interesting case for digital theatre being a more environmentally friendly and conscious way of touring work.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, just in terms of the footprint, I think it's a more sustainable touring method. You're not, having to fly out or travel out crew and cast and props and set pieces. It's just, it can just be a download link, and all of a sudden you've got access to a filmed play that can then be shown to an audience. So I certainly don't think, and certainly our mission is not to replace live theatre or live tours. I think the two can go really nicely hand in hand.
It's a compliment. I do think that. Yeah. I feel like it's like an onboarding, for a lot of people.
Totally,
it's hey, if I showed some of the shows to my kids at school, they would ask me, Mr. Parrick, where's this from? I go, well, this is a show on stage. You go, I would love to go watch it. I go, then you just take the whole crowd, the school together, and go watch a play.
Yeah, and the research suggests that people who engage with the digital theatre product are more likely to then go and see a live theatre production. So it very much is a hand-in-hand model, and I think the two can coexist really happily and healthily. And audiences who wouldn't otherwise see these works have the opportunity to do so. And people who are in metro areas or who are better resourced to be able to go into the theatre, of course, they'll continue going, and that's wonderful. But it's just, I think it's about more sort of looking at the bigger picture of things, and making sure that we're offering equal opportunity to everyone.
Yeah. So now when you guys do film the actual shows, now is the audience still in there, or is it a separate show, there's rehearsals, tech rehearsals, and then you just do a show particularly for the live theatre? Yeah,
so it sort of varies capture to capture. This week we captured the Italians at 25A downstairs Belvoir.
Great.
And that was our tightest turnaround production to date. So we confirmed on Tuesday night that we were filming it, and we filmed it on Thursday.
Wow.
So that had certainly never happened before, but it was Sean came to the team, I think, on the Monday and was like, yo, I just saw this show and we have to get it. Grant and Pete went along Tuesday night, saw it, and were like, we agree, we have to get it. And all of a sudden we were in on Thursday making it happen. But so in that instance, they obviously had a sold out run, which was amazing.
I was like, great. Because I can't see the Italians anymore.
Now you will.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And so they'd sold out. So it meant that they added in an extra show. So they added in a matinee on the Thursday, and they invited an audience along. And I think it was a mix of papering and paid tickets. They put some tickets up for sale as well. And yeah, so we don't shoot shows obviously with a full audience because the camera team have a footprint. So it means we have a slightly reduced audience. But I don't think there's any instance of ever shooting without an audience. I think that's really important. Like you can see in the films, you can see the audience. They're very much there and a part of the show. And I think that keeps that element of it feeling live. And reminding us, I'm watching a play. I'm not watching a film. It's a filmed play. So it keeps that, I think, awareness in people's brains when they're watching. But yeah, so we shoot with an audience, and then we let them go straight after the show, and we'll film pickups without them. But the day usually runs, like we get in there first thing, crack of dawn really, to set up. And we call actors for mic fittings. Once everything's sort of pretty much set up, cameras are all in position. And then we do, with the stage manager, we run a light check. So essentially we move through all the cues, the lighting cues of the show, and the camera team will figure out, the settings for their cameras. And then we pretty much clear the space. And then we go in like 10 minutes before the show, get into position, and then audience comes in and we shoot it. So it's pretty it's pretty minimal contact really with the show on the day with the team. There's a lot of pre-pro work that we do. So we usually see the show like a number of times. We'll film an archival. Grant and Pete work really hard to mark up the script with all the blocking, entrances and exits. So the camera team are all on headsets during the show, and Grant and Pete are at monitors communicating to the camera team, okay, this actor is about to enter from here. This person, make sure you're framed up on this. So that's all happening. But we certainly don't operate the way like National Theatre do, in which they have, days of camera rehearsals and all that jazz. We don't have that luxury. But I think it means that in the end what you get is something that's really, there's a beautiful quality to it, in that it really does capture the live essence of the work. I think if you started doing a lot of camera rehearsal and everything became like, essentially like you were filming a film. I think the medium, I think you do lose a little bit of that spontaneity, or, because it's beautiful what the camera team will pick up, like, just little details. Someone might go in for a close-up on a hand on a teacup or something, and that's not choreographed or anything, but it's just moments that the camera team intuitively are able to see and capture. But yeah, it's pretty fast work. Everyone has to very much be on their game, but that's also kind of the joy of it. Like it's a big challenge, but every time, like I remember the first time sitting in our office, we were filming a Queensland production remotely. It was at a time when we couldn't get into Queensland because of COVID. So we had like this crazy setup where the camera team were communicating to us, and when we were still seeing, we still had monitors so we could see what was happening, but there was a crazy delay. Anyway, it was all wild. Like, wow, it was wild. We were remotely.
So you were remotely filming it.
Yeah.
Oh my
like Mission Impossible.
It was like huge. And but I remember like sitting there watching it on the monitors, and I was like, this is crazy. Like it's so cool. Like to see the action of a play from 6 different cameras. Just like sometimes I wish like audiences could watch that perspective of just like the 6 cameras at the one time, just seeing like it's such a feast just to like see everybody's little choices. You see like what every actor's doing in every moment. You can see all the elements of the design. It's just it's like a masterclass in watching like all the work that goes into a theatre production, all the detail, and you just see it all, which you just miss when you're in a theatre space. And sometimes, sometimes some of the theatre spaces are so big. You're like watching these little ants on a stage, you know. But to actually see people's eyes, like it's just amazing. Obviously, not so much of a problem in a smaller theatre space, but it's pretty special.
Yeah, it's always like when you go watch a show. I think like if you watch it multiple times, it's good to sit in different places. Like you sit higher, sit lower, left, right, and then you get different views.
Totally.
And see what the actors are doing and different intonations and whatnot as well. So like, and I mean, it's great that this all captures everything, right? And I mean, I thought like, a lot of people thought that theatre was sort of dying. It's dying art, and we were all trying to find, well, you know, how do we still capture everything, the essence of it, and still keep it going. I don't think it will ever die per se. I don't think it will.
So.
Yeah, but like this is another way of saying yes, we can still evolve whenever we can. You know.
Totally. And I think it comes back to that idea of like it's very much a partnership of the two mediums, and it's like, okay, how can we tour this live production to X, Y, and Z, but recognize that we don't have the resources to hit these other areas. Therefore, we'll film it, and the film version can go here, and the live production can go here. And that way, like, we're just doubling our reach. And those audiences don't have to miss out because they're no longer in the too hard basket. You know? I think that's really, really wonderful.
I mean, not to say also that Australian theatre then gets to join the international conversation, which I think is really fascinating because really you don't get to see international shows at all. And therefore theatre becomes very, I mean, you don't even get to see theatre from other states.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so it becomes very insular about what the community is. And it's kind of fascinating. Like, I really love National Theatre Live. You know, I've been to many of their screenings and stuff like that. And it's just like, oh, wow, that's what they're doing over there. You know, how cool is that? So I think that's also what it could really open up is...
Definitely.
I think it's more, like international people looking at our work.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Australians being like, oh, ours can compare. Or ours can compete, or ours can be in conversation with the shows that they're doing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. I want to ask you, tell us about one of your personal favorite shows that are in the catalogue that you really enjoy.
Tricky. Yeah, I've been rewatching a lot of the content recently, just because I manage the social media for ATL. So, and we've been working on pumping out a lot more video content and, you know, getting sort of short snippets of all the plays. And it's been such a treat going back through the catalogue, especially watching some of the earlier films that I obviously wasn't with the company when they were captured. This Much Is True by Louis Nara, which was a Redline Productions show. I have a real soft spot for that production. I just think the acting is like immaculate. It's a cast of 8 and it's so well acted. So that's really beautiful. And it's actually I just learned today it's 2 hours straight through, and it just does not feel like it. It's one of those wild shows that just really like grips you and holds you to the very end. What else? Dapto Chaser, Mary Rachel Brown. I think that's a gorgeous work. I think Mary has a really an amazing gift for presenting areas of society that are so underrepresented, and for like giving you an insight into this world that you just never would have thought that you'd spend time with on a stage. Like I think it's quite extraordinary. I love her process, and that one's really special. I mean, it's hard not to mention Platée because that was a huge capture for us. It was a Pinch Gut opera, a powerhouse lead performance by Kanan Breen, who is just like extraordinary.
And where was that filmed?
So that was at the City Recital Hall. And that's been, I think, one of our biggest shoots to date. Was directed by Neil Armfield. We had so many cameras on it, including a what's it called? The word is escaping me. A crane.
Crane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Crane
so we had a crane in the City Recital Hall,
Oh, my
which
God.
was just so you get these incredible like sweeping overheads, and it is like it's an absolute feast for the eyes. This production, it's a huge cast, and just like visually and orally, it's just like amazing. But. Yeah, it's hard. I could say great things about them all. Away, the STC Malthouse is just glorious as well. But yeah, all of the shows, and I'm actually super excited about some of the upcoming releases. Like,
Can you tell us about them?
I can chat about them. So we were super fortunate to collaborate with Griffin this year on their main stage season. So we captured 4 of their works this year.
Oh, wow.
So Orange Thrower.
Yep, great.
By Kirsty Marillier. We captured Golden Blood by Mel and Tom.
Oh, excellent.
Incredible.
Yeah.
White Fella Yellow Tree, Dylan Vandenberg, and Ghosting the Party as well. So 4 incredible new Australian works for their world premieres, and I'm super excited to see those on the platform. I think they are some of the best writing I've seen this year, and probably beyond this year as well. I think some really, really like fantastic work. So those are joining the platform. We've also got Return to the Dirt is joining the platform this month, which was a Queensland Theatre production by Steve Pirrie, and that's another new work. It was it received a local Queensland Premier Award, I believe.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, and was supported through its development and such by QT. So that one's really special. It's a dark comedy and a lot of fun and really beautifully performed. And we'll have the Italians as well, which is just it's just crazy fun.
Yeah.
And some of I think our like brightest comic talents in it, like Amy Hack and Emma O'Sullivan, I think are just 2 of the funniest humans ever, and they're so great. So yeah, that's a cracker.
Awesome. And tell us about, what do you see as the future of ATL? Like in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, that kind of thing, yeah.
I think it's all about seeing the catalogue grow, really. I think I'd love to see more independent productions captured. I think it's a lot it's a lot easier to go and capture like a main stage production. Obviously, they're better resourced. They're more in a position to have a production captured. But really, I think so much exciting work is happening in the indie sector. So I'd love to capture more of that. I'd love to go out of Sydney, out of New South Wales a little bit more, capture more works from different states. And I think also something that I'm passionate about expanding on is the education side of the business. I think it would be great to have more syllabus texts in the catalogue and just have more content that is going to be a really great resource for students, especially remotely and regionally, who that might be their only opportunity to engage with the play as it was designed, which is to be seen performed rather than read as a text. So. But really I think it's just about growth and hopefully more people connecting with ATL, more people knowing we exist. And it would be great. Maybe one day people will be like, National Theatre Live? Oh, you mean like Australian Theatre Live? That'd be great. Like I don't know. I think we need to get over that cultural cringe of and accept that like we have incredible theatre makers here. We are generating some really phenomenal work, and I hope people can get around that. And the catalogue might be sort of on the smaller side now, but there's still heaps in there, and with the support of more subscribers, giving Australian stories more platforms and greater access to audiences.
Yeah, we've all recognized the fact that we have there's so much work coming out of Sydney and Australia, and it needs to be shown. Like we have Meraki Theatre, they're doing exactly the same sort of thing. The more work and repetition of the work and seeing it many times and having given it a second, third go, and other shows like they want to show it to other parts of the world. This may be a place where it can be shown and people can maybe pick it up somewhere else. Like we pick up shows from overseas.
Yeah.
I would love for like a lot of our shows to go picked up,
Totally. Yeah. And like what the capture ends up being, as well as obviously a product on the platform, is also like an incredible calling card for the artists.
Absolutely.
Something like The Italians by Danny Ball, like it's incredible that the team now have this like, cinema quality capture of their work, which can now be used to potentially attract interest of people elsewhere who might be interested in remounting the show. And if not this show, it's pretty much like a show reel, right? It's like, hey, this is an example of my work, and this is what I have in the pipeline, get around it. So I think that's really fab as well.
So like, okay, when you guys select a show to film, what's the criteria? Is there a criteria? What is the criteria?
Yeah. So again, varies case to case. This is something that we're wanting to put a little bit more attention towards at the moment, actually, and being a little bit more transparent about the process and opening it up a little bit more. But yeah, it's gone in different ways. So pretty much this time each year we'll put together a bit of a roadmap of what theatre's happening. And we'll do that for New South Wales, Queensland, and Victoria. We're trying to be a little bit more ambitious with that and go elsewhere as well, like Perth and whatnot. But we put together a bit of a mud map, what's happening, and we read as much as we can about each of the shows, and we go, okay, this one tickles our fancy. We like the look of this one. We like the look of that one. Our criteria essentially is that it's an Australian show. So really we want Australian writing. That's really key. That doesn't always happen. Obviously we have Shakespeare on the platform. We have operas on the platform. But in those cases, it's still an Australian production. It's an Australian cast, Australian director. So that's how those ones happen. But so that's sort of the first round. It's really what tickles the interest of the team. But we also the Italians happened because Sean went along and saw it and took that news back to the team. So we are a team who very much see a lot of theatre and try and keep on top of what's happening where, who's making what. We also have had productions happen that have been the result of someone in the team emailing and being like, hey, we've got a show, we'd like it filmed. How do those conversations happen? But it's a tricky thing, right? Because obviously a capture costs money. So there are sort of a few different ways it can happen. Sometimes it's us putting in all the funds. Sometimes it's a company bringing funds to the table. Sometimes the funds are from government. Sometimes they're from our own incomes. But yeah, so it I think hopefully it'll become more of a process. We're hoping to build into the website and such a little bit of a, got a show, let's chat. Because we do want to be in conversation with theatre makers and be a little bit more, we collaborated with Rogue Projects on their KXT show, You're Not Special by Sam O'Sullivan. And that was yet another example of just someone knocking on the door. And I think it would be great to see more of that happen because it's so hard, especially with indie, when you're looking through like a list of what's happening in the theatre sector. The main stage companies, it's like, okay, great, I recognize the name of that playwright, I recognize the name of that actor, cool. But with the indie stuff, sometimes it's like, I don't know what that show is, I don't know the artists, and it's really difficult to be like, okay, yes, let's shoot for that one. So the way those ones can get our attention is really making contact and talking to us about it, because otherwise it's just really difficult. But yeah.
I feel like you guys need like a group, a research group, like little ants go and look at all these shows, independent shows, and see what if it's viable for us, you know.
Totally.
So, yeah.
And it is hard, right? Because we do need. I mean, we did the Italians with a couple of days' notice, but we're not looking to repeat that. So you know, we need ideally a couple of months lead time, and so. So yeah, it's tricky, especially I think for indie shows to be in a position a couple of months out to be talking about let's film the show, you know. But yeah, there are some things we're working on to try and make that easier for everybody. But I think like I absolutely encourage anybody who's interested in what we do from the perspective of a theatre maker, like reach out. We're super keen to chat. We have a great office space in Roselle, which people are welcome in. So. Yeah, I think it's just good that we're talking about it, you know, and it's like we don't want to seem like a closed door or seem like, you know, it's impossible for smaller scale productions to be noticed because obviously, I mean, three of the team, myself included, are indie theatre makers. So we're very much looking to look after our little sector as well.
Yeah.
And how do we find Australia Theatre Live? What's the website? What's the...
AustralianTheatre.live is the website. You can email us at hello@australiantheatre.live. And yeah, the website also has a link to our email and also the link to the streaming platform as well.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. Either way, I'll put all that information up on Instagram profile and also the actual podcast wherever you guys are hearing it. So all that information will be there, and people can just follow links and hopefully see this place grow. Yeah.
And speaking of three of you being indie theatre makers, you're producing an independent show coming up very soon at Meraki.
I sure am. I've hopped on board for Corvus Arts Theatre's very first production, which is The Dazzle by Richard Greenberg. It's an Australian premiere. Producing it along with Alec Ebert, who is a wonderful, wonderful actor. And it's his first time. He's founded Corvus, and it's his first time producing. Got a beautiful team. Jane Ankarad is directing. Steve Corner and Meg are also in the cast. And yeah, it's really great. It's touching. It's super quirky. It's a period piece based on two real life brothers who are referred to as America's original hoarders.
Okay.
So yeah, it's quite the tale. Yeah, looking forward to that one bumping in this weekend. And we'll be hitting the Meraki stage from the 17th of November through to the 3rd of December.
Great. Well, we'll definitely let people know about that one as well.
Yeah. And when are you going to be back on stage again?
Oh, I'm back actually on a Queensland stage. I'm back at Queensland Theatre next year in As You Like It, getting take 2, which is pretty special. So excited to step into Rosalind's shoes once again. Excited and terrified, but that is the process. But yeah, I'm excited. I miss being in a dressing room, miss being on a stage. It's a funny thing, but also like very much enjoying. I think it's a very empowering thing as an artist to have a few different hats.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on. Hope we can help this space out. And that's what Chukas is all about, is helping each other out in this community. And God, we all need it. So thank you so much. And we'll pull the links up and everything. And best wishes. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, Chukas.
Thank you, Chukas.
Chukas.
Cool.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for this episode. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.